What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy, the official Ramco. I wanted to talk about a topic, well, perhaps two topics, and that would be lean is law and looks maxing. I don't believe lean is law, at least not in every case. Lean can be law depending on your lifestyle, your profession, and your goals. Obviously, having too much body fat is not healthy. I understand that. But if you, let's say, okay, if you work in an office environment, pushing paper, yeah, lean can be law, maybe. If you are working blue collar, though, certain blue collar jobs, construction, landscaping, gardening, mechanic, etc., lean is not always necessarily law. Far from it, actually. Being too lean as a police officer or a military guy, probably not too good, okay? A good range there in terms of body fat percentage would be around 15 to 20% or something like that. If you are a performance athlete, let's say a martial artist, walking around constantly lean all year round is not feasible for everybody. Yes, there are martial artists that have some great physiques, but many of them, they look like your average guy actually, a lot of times. Or perhaps they look athletic, but they don't necessarily have like super ripped abs in that sense until they actually have to cut weight for a certain match. Some martial artists, MMA fighters, have fucking dad bods. So I totally disagree with this concept that lean is law. And one of the reasons why I have to go against lean is law and the looks maxing community is this over obsession with the physical appearance. This, in my opinion, is extremely effeminate. It's extremely, it's just not very quote unquote masculine, right? Men, in my opinion, should primarily work out for performance. Aesthetics will come second. Well, you were gonna say, well, women check me out and, la la la, like in terms of like when you have fixed your appearance, right? And that might be true in some cultures. I noticed this is very popular in the United States, and it's also gained attraction in the UK to a certain extent. Maybe that's because the US has a large percentage. I think the majority of the population is statistically overweight, around 73%, I believe. Men are slightly more overweight than the women in terms of stats. So I can understand if American women perhaps will see you as like top 10%, 20% guy in terms of looks. And I watched a lot of American dating shows, and there's a huge emphasis on the looks, right? On the height and all of that. But at the same time, it's not always the law, though. As a man, we actually have the privilege to not only be judged by our looks. That is the privilege that we have, because there's a lot of short, unattractive, overweight guys that get laid. They do, actually. And that's because they have good social skills. They're also at the right place at the right time. So this is where I have to push back against these looks maxer guys a lot, because how is it feasible to beat yourself with a hammer in the face, smoking meth, and just do all this crazy shit, or kneecap surgeries, right? I think this is insanity. Women, not that I encourage women to do that either, but it makes sense for women to train as fitness models in the gym. The Bulgarian, what is it called? Bulgarian split squats and RDLs and all of this stuff. I'm not against lifting weights per se, but again, I think for men it should be performance based. Personally, I think functionality and trumps it all. But for women, it makes more sense because women know that men, even the most feminist woman who denies this, some of them at least, some of them can be quite realistic actually, but at least you know, they know that men are attracted to attractive women. Visual men are very visual, you know what I mean? Women are of course visual, but not to the same degree. Why do you think there's a term called gymcel as of late, which is basically an incel that works out? Like, he's swole though, you know what I mean? Or he's fit at least, athletic to some sort, so if you know, there is a lot of fit, good looking men that don't be clapping cheeks like that. So lean is not always law. This is not true, you know. And I had to break it down like that because I think this type of propaganda can be misleading, can be dangerous. You know, I think every person has different, you know, a life situation, so to speak, depending on profession and the goals and so forth. So keep that in mind. And on top of that, yeah, as I said, very, very effeminate thing to do, to overly obsess about your appearance all the time. You guys might make fun of my, you know, bald head and shit now. Oh, why don't you just do hair plugs and stuff like that? Actually, I still grow a lot of hair on the sides and all of that. And actually, the reason why I shaved it off to my scalp is because it's thinning right here, and I have lost hair in these small spaces, so it kind of looks like a Y. You know what I mean? I'm not completely bald here in the middle, but thinning. And to me, it looks kind of weird. That's why I keep it short, or I shave it down completely bald. But I think I have a pretty good head shape for being bald. And I think the beard makes up for it. A lot of you guys may disagree. You're gonna think I'm unattractive or ugly or whatever. I don't give a fuck. I like the functionality of it too, to be honest. So yeah, those are my finishing words. I hope this brought you some wisdom, and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you like my content. So peace. Yeah, before I end this video, I wanted to say something else, add something else. In the looks maxing / incel community, there's this huge emphasis on height too, right? We talked about the kneecap surgery. I'm 6'1", you know, and it's not like women are throwing themselves at me when I'm, you know, out in the streets or something like that. You got this shit all fucked up. And I live in Sweden. The dating culture here is even far worse than America and on the social aspect of it. We know Swedish people don't really show attraction openly in that sense a lot of times. And you know, I guess a lot of my generation and perhaps the younger ones have been influenced a lot by social media and stuff like that. So it's a shit show, honestly speaking. So, you know, just because you're an attractive looking guy in a Scandinavian country, you know, especially, it doesn't mean you're gonna be, you know, slaying fucking pussy all day. Sorry for the vulgar language, but that's just facts. It's about verbal communication, it's about skills and all of that. So keep that in mind, man. All right, subscribe, hit the like button, man, and I'll see you in the next one.